Have you ever wondered if the United States of America is living up to its own economic and social goals? Are we achieving what we want to achieve? Are we a great country, or are we still struggling to get there? Well, in this video on the Mr. Sin channel, we'll be looking at the United States economic and social goals. There's 7 of them that we're going to go over. And at the end of the video, you can judge for yourself. Is the United States living up to its end, or are we lacking in some categories? It's up to you to decide. Today we are talking about the economic and social goals of the United States of America. How are we as a country judged? Are we successful? Are we not? Are we living up to our own promises? The list that we're going to go over in this video, you're not going to find out in public. You're not going to actually probably know it yourself. If you talk to your friends or family, they probably don't know it. But when you hear people say what they expect from their country, you'll actually hear this list. You'll hear common themes. And this list is subject to change as society changes and evolves. Politicians, community leaders, a lot of the things that they promise and they want to strive for is in this list. Now, we have 7 things, 7 goals that the United States has, both economic and social. Our first one is going to be economic freedom. Then we have economic efficiency, economic equity, economic security, price stability, full employment, and also economic growth. These 7 things are what, for the most part, most Americans hope for their country to have. We strive to reach it. We may not always get there, but we are always pushing forward, trying to get as close as we can. Now, we're going to break these apart one by one and get into a little bit at the end of the video about some trade-offs that occur with these 7 different goals. Our first goal is economic freedom, and this is a really big deal for Americans. This is a big part of American society, and that is because we believe as a country that you should be able to make your own decisions with your money, that businesses should be able to do what they want. Remember, if you watched my video on the different types of economies, we talked about a market economy, a mixed economy, capitalism and socialism, command, all of those different things. And in there, the United States, we are a mixed economy. A big deal for our country is capitalism. Now, we do have government interaction, so we're not a perfect market, but Americans really value their economic freedom. This is why people are terrified of the government coming in and taking money away. Or a lot of Americans do not want any socialism at all, or communism. They are afraid it will challenge this goal. Economic freedom is a big part of American society. Our next goal is economic efficiency, and this one is so important because this is how we move forward. We have to make sure that our resources are being used wisely. Remember, we have scarcity, so we don't have unlimited resources. Our factors of production are limited, so we must use them in a wise manner. So economic efficiency is key, so businesses can make sure they plan accordingly to adapt to changing environments in the economy, with their consumers, and anything else that could happen, so that they can make sure that they're producing and creating enough goods and services for the people of the United States. We have to make sure that too, as a society, we are efficiently using all of our resources, that the government is being efficient, and that we are all moving together as one forward. So economic efficiency is key for us to have a growing GDP, growing economy, and just overall better life than what we once had. The next goal is economic equity. Now notice I didn't say equality. We'll have to differentiate between equality and equity because you need to understand the difference in order to understand this goal. Equality would be where we're trying to make sure that everyone's treated the exact same. No one's getting special treatment, everyone's the same. If one person gets something, then everyone gets it, so it's all equal. Equity is not striving for that. Equity, at least economic equity, is when we'll give some people more resources than others. Some people might get a bigger boost while others get less of a boost. And the reason that is happening, while it may seem unfair and unjust, is to try and make it a level playing field. Think about it this way. When you go to school, if your teacher decided to start assigning office hours after school, making people come in to spend extra time, an hour after school, to work with the teacher to help them do better in the class, that might be great for some. But if we used equality there, then that means that every single student has to be assigned time after school to come in. So everyone in the class will have to come in for an hour to make sure it's equal. So everyone has the exact same amount of time with the teacher. Now, many of you probably wouldn't need that, nor would you want that. So that would be equality. Equity, though, would say, well, the students that need extra help and want to come in, they could come in for that extra hour. But if you were doing well in the class and you didn't need that, well, then you didn't have to come in. Equity isn't about making everything equal. You'll treat people differently depending on what their needs are and where they're at. And this is why this is a goal of the United States. It's not economic equality, it's economic equity. This has become such an important goal of the United States that we have put laws in place to make sure that we have level playing fields for gender and race and age. You can't just fire someone because they get old. You can't just pay someone less because they are a woman or a man. We have laws in place to protect people to make sure that we strive for this goal. We also have laws in place to make sure that consumers don't get ripped off, that they're being treated fairly, and that businesses aren't lying with advertisements or trying to use switchbait tactics to get people into their stores. So economic equity is a big part of American society, and it is a goal that we are always striving to reach. The next goal is economic security, and this is an important goal. Economic security isn't even just about economics, but it's just about safety and security in general. The idea that you know that you can go to work and you're not just going to be fired because you were sick, or you're not going to be fired because of your race or gender. You have protection there. You can sleep safe at night. You know that you're not going to be attacked. You know that the country is here to protect you. We believe in this goal so much that we have created programs like Social Security, a program that over 90% of Americans participate in. And even recently, this goal's been challenged a little bit. With AI and new automation, people are worried that we might be losing too many jobs, that people's jobs are now at risk. And that has caused a lot of conflict because this goal is starting to be challenged a little bit. With new innovations and technologies, we might now start to see a change in economy where human labor is no longer as efficient or necessarily needed as, let's say, AI. If a computer can do it better and cheaper, some companies are starting to pick that. And that's starting to become a big issue, particularly for certain societies in the American society. The next goal is price stability. Now, this one might not be on your mind all the time, but I bet you would care if this wasn't happening. Price stability is where you could go to the store and for the most part know that, hey, that bread is going to cost 99 cents. It's going to be about $1 or $2. And the next day, it'll be about $1 or $2. And the day after that, it'll be $1 or $2. You don't go to the store expecting, is it going to be 10 today? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 1? I don't know. Because we have stability with our prices. We don't have massive inflation that is changing the prices on a day-to-day basis. Now, while inflation is occurring in the United States every single day, and we also have deflation that occurs as well, we, for the most part, have stable prices. And that's the goal. We will see upticks in inflation and we'll also see deflation where it goes down. But in the day-to-day basis, we should have some consistency with our pricing. You shouldn't have to worry about, do I need to buy food today because tomorrow I won't be able to afford it. The prices will stay relatively the same. Now, inflation's really bad because when inflation takes off, the economy starts to slow down. Interest rates go up, the value of your money goes down, people can purchase less, and so it's important for our economy to stay kind of on track. It's actually one of the reasons why we have a Federal Reserve. If you need more information on them, you can click on the card in the top right to go into the Federal Reserve. But they try to manage interest rates and try to keep inflation low so our economy can keep growing. So, something to think about. Price stability is actually pretty important. The next goal is a simple goal, and it's full employment. If you remember back to one of the first videos on scarcity and needs and wants, we have unlimited needs and wants, but we have limited resources. That causes scarcity. Now, this causes us to need to make money. And so to do that, we need to have jobs. So full employment is very important. This is so people can generate wealth and they can purchase things and they can help the economy out and they can live a better life. So full employment is very important to Americans, not even just Americans, but all societies. Now, we always are striving for more and more jobs. And we also want the ability to be able to move jobs. If you don't like what you're doing, you should be able to work somewhere else, and you should have the opportunity to do so. And while as a society we realize we'll never get to 100% employment, we're always striving to get as close as we can to be as productive and as efficient as possible. Our last goal is economic growth. As Americans, we hope that the economy continues to grow, that new goods and services are produced, that more jobs become available, that we can buy more clothes, more cars, more computers and video games, and that when we have kids, they have a better life than we do, and there's better times, that they can purchase new things, that they can purchase better things and more than we could in our lives. Economic growth is key. And not even just for America, but for all societies. You need to have economic growth in order for the country to continue to improve. Now, these economic and social goals are subject to change. They're not set in stone. When America evolves and culture changes, these goals change with it. Right now in the United States, people are debating the role of the government with healthcare. Should healthcare be a basic right for everyone and be free? Should it not? We're also debating climate change. What should be going on with that? Who knows? Maybe healthcare and the environment will join this list. No one knows for sure what will happen in the future, but as society changes, it's important to remember these goals will change with it. One of the things you may have noticed is that these economic goals and social goals kind of contradict each other, and this is where we have trade-offs and opportunity costs. I mean, let's just look at minimum wage, for example. This might fulfill the goal of economic equity, but at the same time, it hinders individual freedom, economic freedom, because now all of a sudden businesses have to pay a certain wage to people. They just lost that freedom. But we gained equity in that people are being paid fairly. And so this is a back and forth that happens in a bunch of different ways. We as a society have to figure out how should we reach these goals. And this is where the debate comes in. What should the role of the government be? Which goals should we prioritize over other goals? Which goals maybe aren't as important? Or which goals are worth sacrificing in terms of advancing in another one? These are choices that we as Americans have to make. And the way that we make these choices is by voting. In the United States, if people generally believe that minimum wage should be $15 for everyone, I'm not saying that it should. All I'm saying is if everyone in our society believed that, then we would vote for politicians that would approve and pass a minimum wage. If an issue becomes important enough, well, eventually elected officials get put in office, and then they will run to make sure that their constituents are happy and approve those bills. So in the United States, we use voting to try and achieve these goals. This is actually the majority of politicians' platforms. Which of these goals are they going to highlight? Which ones are they going to run for? Which ones are they not going to push as much? Or which way do they believe is the right way to achieve these goals? And this is this back and forth that continues to happen between politicians and also American citizens, trying to figure out how can we make sure that we have the best society possible and give up the least. Remember, we want to minimize our opportunity costs. We don't want to give up more than we have to. And so it's this back and forth, and voting is how it's done. Now that we have a good understanding of exactly what the 7 economic and social goals are, it's up to you to decide if we as a country are currently meeting these. Are we falling short on some or all of them, or are we excelling at all of them? How should we achieve all these goals? These are all questions that are worth asking. And the answers, well, it depends on who you are. Each person will have a different perception of what we're doing. So hopefully you have a good understanding now of what the 7 economic and social goals are, how trade-offs and opportunity costs affect them, and your own opinion of where we are as a country. I'm Mr. Sin. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe, and until next time, I will see you online.